What's up, Womack Nowstalgia? Dave here with a review of The King's Warden, the new historical drama film from Korea, directed by Hang-jun. The King's Warden has been a big success over in South Korea, grossing over $50 million at this point, and by getting a release here in the States, it becomes one of the rare live-action Korean films that's not in the award season picture to actually get like a legitimate release here. It's pretty uncommon. I knew nothing about the movie, but I was excited to see it just because it inherently had an air of status by the fact that it was actually getting released here. I thought that was pretty cool. And, we're seeing how frequently Chinese movies from the Lunar New Year period were getting released here. And as quickly as they have, King's Warden kind of following suit as well as a Korean New Year release. King's Warden takes us back to 1457, where a Joseon dynasty king is deposed and sent into exile in a far-off village in the mountains. The historical plot of this movie is very well known to South Koreans, but was completely new to me. Although I found the screenplay a bit thin at times, we definitely moved our way through some plot without proper setup. There are certainly some supporting characters lacking in development. This movie worked for me because you feel the dramatic stakes of its core characters, and the film also carries very effective humor and physical comedy. Hae-jin plays the warden of this mountain village who's tasked with ensuring the exiled king lives out his days in relative comfort. And this performance carries the movie. If this performance didn't work, the movie wouldn't work. He's the reason the movie's so funny, but he's also the reason the movie has so much heart. Frankly, I wish the movie slowed down from progressing a lot of its historical plot and just put us more in the day in the life once the king starts to ingratiate himself with the villagers taking care of him. Those middle moments are the best aspects of The King's Warden. So it's certainly an imperfect movie. I think the villain, for example, the one who deposed the king and took over, very one-note performance. He's certainly like fierce and menacing, but he just comes across as a calculated bad guy and little else. I thought probably one of the weaker aspects though was you have this entire B plot from time to time, not in the movie too much, but there's this recurring bit about this other aspect of the royal family who was deposed. He's basically an ally of the deposed king, and they eventually align when the king, musters up his courage and becomes less frail and becomes more stately and confident, and they try and plan out this rebellion to take back the throne. That other character, which I don't even really remember his name or his true status, it was either the uncle, the brother-in-law, something, I forget. The character had very little substance to him, and I just thought that aspect didn't really work. And then once we start rushing to pull off the rebellion, it feels a bit like Paul Revere and Benedict Arnold and things like that, running through the woods at night, and things don't go our way as the viewer. And again, the Koreans watching the movie all knew that was going to happen, but I think anyone else watching it wasn't necessarily anticipating that the movie was going to have a sad ending. It was not really an uplifting story. It ultimately ends in tragedy, even if it has a silver lining in terms of the warden's role at the very end. Given the inevitability of that plot and the fact that plot had to happen no matter what to tell this story of, these specific characters, I would have liked even more time in the village, because I think whether it's the stuff with food where the villagers are sneaking food when the king is refusing to eat, I think a lot of that stuff is great with the uncontrolled burping and the scarfing of food and whatnot. Again, the warden really selling it. Even beforehand, when the warden by chance really kind of learns about the concept of mountain villages taking in exiles from the capital and kind of getting bolstered with resources and inherently secondhand knowledge for everyone in the village as a result of taking on this noble person. All of that stuff I think was really good, and when you see like the groveling and the begging, and it's all done with a really comedic light tone. And when we're with that stuff and we're kind of away from the more self-serious of the core historical plot, I think that's when the movie works the best. Looks really good though. This story is set in the kind of mountainous central region of Korea, Gyeongul, I believe. And I was actually reading that there was like a 5 to 10x growth in tourism in this region between last year and this year at the Lunar New Year, obviously due to the success of this movie. Pretty cool. There's also been review bombings on Naver and Kakao Map in Korea for the locations of the graves of the offending king who took over. I think that's also pretty funny and speaks perhaps to the multi-generational appeal this movie has had, at least in Korea. The king is played by Park Ji-hoon, who has a Korean entertainment industry background, as not necessarily an idol, but someone who was on TV and in competition and things like that. So yeah, cool movie, cool story. I still think it's worthwhile despite my critiques. And yeah, if you saw The King's Warden, what did you think of it? What did you like about this movie? And for more movie reviews, subscribe. I'll see you next time.